made?
Roberta, it's not a change, but just a clarification. The minutes as drafted are accurate. That's what we discussed. But there has been a change in that I'll be discussing on item 6A when we get into the master plan approval schedule regarding what we said there in the minutes, that there would be an action at tonight's meeting, excuse me, regarding our consultation. There will be no action is needed, and I'll be explaining that when I get to the other matter.
Okay. So you don't feel that there needs to be any changes to the minutes per se?
No. We will reflect the change in tonight's minutes.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or changes to the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Thank you, Diana. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Billy. So we have a motion from Diana and a second by Billy to approve the minutes as submitted. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? No, none opposed. So the minutes are approved. I have not had a chance to talk with Shane, so I don't know, Greg, if you have a report for them.
Yeah, I have an update for Kahukumana that I will include in my executive director's report.
Okay. So why don't we move into your executive director's report?
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. And before I jump into it, I just want to reiterate a heartfelt welcome to Nahua. Can't tell you how much I've appreciated having extra help here. And I'm sure I've overwhelmed her already, and I hope it's not too much, Nahua, but I just know and feel very confident that we're on the right path. So still a lot more to do, a lot more work, and some more changes to be made within CMS, but very much looking forward to working with Nahua. So just wanted to reiterate that.
Thanks, Greg.
One more thing, Greg. I noticed that Julie is joining us, so welcome, Julie. Just to update you, we approved the minutes of the October 2nd meeting, and I welcome Nahua Gills as the new addition to CMS. So we are going to move into the executive director's report, and there were no written or I guess Zoom testimonies from the public.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
No problem.
Glad you're able to join us.
Thanks.
Okay, so several items to update the board members on tonight. First item is the master plan. As I'm sure you folks are all aware, the public comment period concluded on October 26th. I'm going to be covering more about the details of what we received, as well as next steps when I get into agenda item 6A. So I'll defer further comment at this point, or reporting on this point at this point. And did make the clarification already to the minutes of our October 5th meeting. So no formal action is required tonight on our consultation on the master plan. A recommendation from Maunakea Management Board will be sought after amendments to the plan are made and prior to it going to the Board of Regents for final approval. So once again, I'll be covering that in agenda item 6A. Kahukumana, at their last meeting on October 21st, they reviewed the University of Hawaii at Hilo new educational telescope environmental assessment. There were no major issues they identified with the assessment, but they did ask for clarification on the archaeological monitoring plan, which was addressed by the consultants. They just wanted to know and understand how that was going to actually be conducted. They also recommended, and this is not the first time, but they reiterated a recommendation that they have made in the past, that the educational use and value of the telescope is something that needs to be emphasized to the broader community. So we will be working those points of emphasis into the amendments or revisions to the draft EA based on their comments. The second item regarding Kahukumana is they, as I have reported in the past, have been having their own discussions about broadening their membership and diversifying their membership. So they have been seeking on their own through their own networks and contacts to identify persons interested in serving on the council with them. Thus far, those discussions have been very preliminary and have not resulted in any solid sort of expressions of interest, if you will. So they have asked CMS, myself, Nahua, Wale Ishibashi, to assist with identifying potential Kahukumana members that they would like to add to the council. So I am working with Wale and Nahua. We do have a few names that we would like to bring forward to Kahukumana. Their next meeting is actually Thursday. So we'll be discussing these potential additions with them at that time. They have also formalized a bit more their background information that they seek from people wanting to or interested in serving on Kahukumana. They've actually done some work on a little document that they would share with people that explains the expectations and the requirements of serving on the council. That's something that they collectively have worked on. So that'll hopefully help with identifying potential members so that potential future members understand the expectations of serving with them. So that process, that conversation continues to move forward. The next item I have is on the Environment Committee. The Environment Committee did meet on October 21st, and we met with the Jim Hayes and our PSI consultant team to gather their input on the master plan. They had the master plan for a couple of weeks and had a initial overview of it, so that they knew exactly sort of what was in the plan and where they might want to focus their review. One of the areas that stood out to me where people expressed concerns was actually something that an idea that they like, but are concerned about the expanded educational uses of Hale Pohaku. While they like the idea, they want CMS to make sure that projects and programs that might be housed or at least implemented from Hale Pohaku are consistent with the stewardship needs of the Mauna. And perhaps more importantly, that those programs do not significantly increase the impacts to the resources. There was some concern about the expansion of educational programs actually drawing more interest and more people to the Mauna that could negatively impact the resources. We discussed some of the several ideas on how program proposals would be vetted. These are similar to actually the reviews that CMS already conducts for research and other research proposals and other special permits that come forward. Would probably, excuse me, probably be a little bit more involved than even what we're doing now. So they seem comfortable or satisfied that we would be, it wouldn't be a situation in which they were concerned that that anybody wanting to do a program there could just come and request use of the facility and implement their program. They wanted to make sure that there was some kind of vetting process that we would put in place. And that is something actually we have discussed internally already. They are preparing to review the University of Hawaii New Educational Telescope Environmental Assessment at their meeting later this month. So that's the next item on their agenda. Next item I have to update you on are the MKO discussions regarding new agreements post 2033. I've shared a little bit about those negotiations having started already. At our last meeting with the MKO directors and some of their key stakeholders, we had a report by a joint committee that is comprised of Ka'io Kimura and Lisa Spain from Imiloa, along with Christine Matsuda Smith and Mary Beth Lechek, who are working on behalf of the MKO's outreach staff, where they shared some ideas that they identified as, excuse me, as potential community benefits that would be addressed or integrated into these new MKO agreements. I believe I have shared with you folks in the past that one of the things that we believe that that needs to be reflected in new agreements is how exactly benefits the community benefits from astronomy on Mauna Kea, and what the MKOs in partnership with UH can do to support those benefits. There were a range of ideas that they have brainstormed that included a broader definition of educational support beyond STEM-focused areas, and expanding educational support to go beyond the students alone, but actually to support culture and place-based science curriculum as well, curriculum development that would integrate, for example, traditional ecological knowledge with some of the science discoveries that are occurring with the MKOs or through the MKOs, and pulling it together into some integrated curriculum development that teachers could utilize and public schools could utilize. They also are proposing a larger focus to go beyond sort of the focus right now, which is on students that are already sort of geared either in high school or in intermediate school towards STEM-oriented interests, to expand the focus to reach as far down as pre-K through grade 12, expanding sort of the focus of some of these kinds of programs. So these were just a few of the ideas that they shared. The committee is preparing an outreach plan to gather input from the community on some of these ideas. This aspect of developing these new agreements will likely take 6 months or longer to flesh out. And as they get fleshed out, I know that we will want to bring some of those ideas to this group, as well as to the Kahukumana for input. But in the meantime, as those discussions progress, the focus of our negotiations will continue to focus on, right now, are focused on how the MKOs and UH will handle costs of shared services, as well as infrastructure funding. So those are some of the highlights of the discussions that are going on with the MKOs about new agreements. The last item I have is on alternative governance, or more specifically, the House Working Group. I do not have any update to report on the progress of the House Working Group. I know that they have continued to meet, and that's about all I know. So with that, are there any questions? Excuse me.
Greg, I have one. So I know on the discussion regarding the potential for increased traffic for the educational telescope, I believe, looking back, we had a discussion. There was some discussion initially about signups for use of that facility.
Right.
Yeah. So that's still on the table?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, what we have discussed internally, but it still needs to be fleshed out, is actually a proposal review process. So it would be more than just a sign up. So someone wanting to conduct field research or a field program or any kind of program would need to submit a proposal that would have to go through some kind of a committee review process. I'm not going to say it's the same as, but maybe similar to what the MKOs do right now when they receive scientific proposals for the use of their observatories.
And that would be developed by CMS?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
Before we go on any questions, Roberta, I'm getting a text message from Doug Simons. Apparently, Carrie, they, meaning IFA, is scheduled to do a presentation using their account. And so he's asking if we can get off of their account and switch our meeting to, we can use my personal account.
Right, but the reason why we use this account for public meetings is because it has to be on YouTube so it can be viewed publicly.
Okay.
And so I just talked to Roy Gal, and Doug Simons just came by, and so Roy said he's going to work it out with Kurt Dodds, and we don't have to end this.
Okay. He just sent me a text, so I'm sorry. Okay, Roberta. Yeah,
I had a question. So what Julie was referring to is both with educational telescope and the master plan, right? Access.
I don't know. Is that how you were distinguishing it, Julie? I mean, what I was referring to is proposals that people want to make to conduct other kinds of programs out of Halepohaku, whether it has to do with the new education telescope or anything else.
Which is part of the master plan, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the same thing.
Okay.
So I guess my other question was, so the work that Kaiu, Lisa, Christine, and Mary
Beth.
Mary Beth are doing is one piece of the strategy to incorporate things in the agreements, right?
Correct.
And then there's another piece that Doug is working on, which is the history of all the actual costs, and so that there is an idea that the MKOs understand, you know, if you take that cost and divide it by 9 telescopes, that would be the remaining telescopes. It would be, you know, it would be still manageable, which I guess was my original comment to the master plan.
Right. So the analysis that Doug and I and Kaiu and others have completed, which has been shared with the MKOs, is really a little bit different. It's the broader picture of UH's investment, both on an annual basis and over time, in supporting astronomy on Mauna Kea. There are pieces of that are going to be relevant to the issue that you have raised. But the analysis that we have done, or the summary that we have done, is sort of incorporates a bigger perspective. But you're correct. I mean, the shared infrastructure costs, the shared services costs, all of that is impacted. The allocations to the individual MKOs is impacted by, you know, how many observatories are actually operating at any time. So that part is relevant for sure.
I think we're already in a position to work that out. Right? I think we already know enough of the costs that the things that were in your analysis were things that preceded all of this. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So really historical analysis.
Right, right. Any other questions?
No other question.
Okay.
Okay, so we can now move into the agenda items. First being information and discussion regarding consultative review of the draft master plan.
Great. I am going to pull up a few slides to kind of summarize where we're at. Can folks see that?
Yes.
So I wanted to provide an update on where we are with the master plan update, the comments that we've received, and a little review of sort of what we're seeing already, although our analysis is not complete yet. And then a preview in terms of some tentative next steps. Okay, my screen doesn't want to share. Okay, there we go. So just as a review, the public comment period on the draft master plan ran through October 26th. And as you folks know, as we've reviewed, we set up an interactive website that allowed people to provide their comments on the plan through various mechanisms. One was to use the website itself and the Conveo tool, where people could provide input directly into the sections of the plan that they were interested in or concerned about. We did have another part of the website that allowed people to go into a general comment form and just fill out a general comment and submit it that way. And then, of course, people were able to send in their comments via US mail or provide their comments in over a hotline. The website is still active, so all of the background information is still there. people can still download the draft if they want to do that. But the section or the function where people actually provide their comments, that part has been disabled for now. But the website is still there. This is a snapshot I just received this afternoon. I'm sorry, it's a little small, but to give you a sense of who and how much activity we had on the website itself. So through the end of the comment period, there were a total of 3,979 people who came to the website. They, many of them came back and revisited it. So there were a little over 5,443 sessions. And you can see how many page views there were, average duration of each session, average number of pages looked at for each session. The top sort of channels or ways that people got to the website were either through referral or direct. They went straight there because they were aware of they had been watching our public announcements and media rollout and whatnot. Social media was also another primary channel that directed people to the website. You see some numbers there about the country of origin for people who came to the website. Again, these are not all people who provided comments or did anything sort of substantive. This is just people who came to the website, some of whom did provide comments. So you see the country of origin, as well as a breakdown of the cities that folks were accessing from. I think one of the takeaways is there was a significant number of folks from off island who came to the website and were interested in this issue and visited at least to find out more information. Whether they actually left comments and provided input, we can't tell just based from this breakdown. Master plan comments. So these are actual comments that were provided or submitted, submissions. 485 comments were provided through the Conveo tool itself. That's the tool that allowed people to go in specifically into the plan and leave their comments in specific areas or sections. There were 369 submissions via the Conveo general comment form. So this was people who just wanted to make general comments. There were 30 submissions via the phone line that we have now transcribed and are including into the summary. And this fourth bullet is a little dated because there's still some submissions coming in from US mail or email, primarily from some agencies that were late in getting us their submissions. And they chose to submit this way. Again, we're not completely finished yet. We're still in the middle of collating all of the comments and organizing them into a summary. But it does appear that most comments reference issues of TMT, UH management, or issues such as the legitimacy of the state's jurisdiction to manage these lands. In other words, most comments were not specific to the elements of the master plan itself. And so we're trying to tease that out. We are going to be reporting on those non-specific comments, if you will, as well. But we're really trying to focus in on the comments that where people did provide specific ideas or input on specific ideas and concepts expressed in the plan. I believe I shared with you folks that there was a form letter petition that was generated. It was sort of advertised through social media. So we did receive 513 submissions. Actually, that number has actually gone up because this is through October 27, and we've continued to receive these submissions. It was called a no means no 1, 2, 3 contact form. It was a pre-filled out form that someone could put their name to and add additional comments if they wanted to. The form itself was, the way it was structured, was set up to link any support or non-support of the master plan to either TMT, our management, or issues such as the state's jurisdiction. So we are going through those forms, and we'll be also making sure that that feedback is referenced in our summary report. So this is just a high-level overview. We will be sharing a summary of our, as I said, of our analysis as that comes together. Yeah.
I have a question, Greg. So is the 369 second bullet a subset of the first bullet, the 485 comments, or is it in addition to?
In addition to, these are all in addition to. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just how they did,
If it was general or if it was part of the actual plan. Got it. Thank you.
So next steps, we are deeply involved, the team, in drafting or reviewing the comments and making appropriate changes. I had a very early look earlier today at a meeting at some of the suggested changes to the plan based on the substantive comments that we have identified and are wanting to look at. So we are making changes to the plan based on the comments, the substantive comments that have come in. There were 50 comments specifically using the Conveo tool on the part of the plan that was written, the leadership letter that was written by President Lasner and Board of Regents Chair Randy Moore, affirming the university's commitment to collaborative stewardship. Most of those comments were about some of the language that was used, the words that were used, as people feeling that it was inappropriate or misstated things. So we are taking a hard look at that, and we'll be making some clarifications to that letter as well. Or at least President Lasner and Chair Moore will be doing that. Yeah.
NHO stands for what?
Native Hawaiian organizations. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the tentative schedule, and I emphasize tentative here, is we are pushing to get a pre-final draft incorporating the changes based on the comments received to this body and Kahukumana and the Environment Committee in December. We want to try to hit the December meeting dates for these bodies. With the projected recommendation coming from Maunakea Management Board at our January 4th regular meeting, which would be the first meeting of the year. And then after that, it would be agendized to the Board of Regents to approve the master plan sometime in the first quarter. These dates are a little fluid right now because the Regents Permitted Interaction Group, the Maunakea Interaction Group, has asked for some things that we have to incorporate into the schedule. So we're still working on that. But that's a tentative sort of high level schedule that we're looking at in being able to bring forward a pre-final draft to our body, this body and our advisory groups, Kahukumana and Environment Committee. So that's a high level overview of where we are at the current time. Let me stop and see if there's any questions.
Hi, Greg. Yeah, I got a few questions. So
Sure.
of that form, the 513, I guess, form comments,
Yeah.
were those predetermined checkboxes, or did anyone provide substantial comments on those actual forms, the form letter itself?
The form was actually had several statements that were listed, opposing the master plan because it included TMT, or opposing the master plan because UH is mismanagement, et cetera. And then the response to those items was pre-filled out.
Yeah.
So you could change that if you wanted to, but it was pre-filled, it was already filled out. And then at the end of the form, you could add additional comments. Actually, I take it back. The response to each of those items was pre-filled out, but you couldn't change it. I take it back. And at the end of the form, it was, you could add additional comments. So some people did and some people didn't. We actually did receive a few forms like that, in which when you got down to the last section where people added their own comments, they were actually in support of us, but they were opposing the use of that particular tool for soliciting input. We've got a couple of things, submissions like that.
I'm sorry, do you mind going back to that slide?
Sure.
I think it's the one before this. Yeah, right there. So of the other comments and submissions, percentage-wise, how many actually actually related to the master plan or provided substantive information for CMS to actually work into or making the changes into the master plan?
I don't have a tally per se, but I will say it was very much a very small percentage.
Okay, so the next question is, knowing that the BOR is planning to possibly approve this first portion of the master plan in early January, how does Senator Sakai's working group play into this, or does it play into this at all? Or are we going to take a recommendation based on whatever report they're going to be submitting to the legislature?
We continue to move forward with our process because we believe, and we actually had a discussion about this with the Regents interaction group the other day, but we believe it's a responsible thing for us to do, to be clear and transparent, both with the community and the state, about our intentions and how we would want to use the privilege of continued access to the Mauna. That's what this master plan is. It's our expression of interest in how we would utilize that access. So we feel like we have, at least I feel, we need to continue to just move forward, regardless of the other things that are going on, because it's our responsibility. We are currently the holders of the master lease, the general lease. Our current master plan had a 20-year shelf life. It needs to be updated. It needs to incorporate all the changes that have occurred since 2000 when that plan was developed. Whatever comes out of Speaker Psyche's process and the legislative working group or any other initiatives, we will deal with them as they come up, but we feel like we just continue to need to be as responsible stewards. We need to continue to move forward.
I would concur with that statement as far as moving forward. The last question I have is, out of all of the submissions, did anyone request an extension of the review period?
No, we did receive some criticisms for the 45 days not being long enough, but I don't recall seeing any specific requests for an extension.
Okay.
And I have a question, Greg. So
Sure.
if, and I don't know if you even have a percentage, but it sounded like maybe 25% of the comments applied to the master plan. So I'm assuming that percentage of comments that apply is what is going to be reviewed and looked at to change or amend the draft that exists now. And the rest of the 75% or whatever the percentage is going to be included as like a footnote at the end of the report. Is that right?
Actually, the master plan will contain as an appendix a complete compilation of everything that was submitted. So that has already, according to the consultants, we probably that attachment itself will probably be 800 plus pages long. So that's just an inventory of what was submitted. And then attached to that is the summary of sort of what we heard and what we're focusing on in terms of changes to the plan based on what we heard. So there is a summary of that we will include.
Okay.
But all of the comments themselves, no matter how they were submitted, will be part of the public record.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment. Given that the revisions are going to, it is being worked on with the hopes of making it public or making it available to the board, Kahukumana, and the environmental committee in December, I'm tending to think we should wait as a board until we see this next revision before we start making any, comments, recommendations to the Board of Regents. Is that a good thing? Or
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I think really folks we would want to take a look at the pre-final draft, is what we're calling it, before there's any sort of formal action by this group.
Yes, Andy?
Just a short question. We saw, I think, some comments that had been submitted in a spreadsheet at the last meeting, if I remember rightly.
Right.
Was that before the deadline? I've lost my timeline.
Yeah, I think it was 1 week before the deadline. So I never got sort of a at the deadline update because we're now deeply into reviewing all that stuff. But
No, I was just interested if there was a large fraction of the comments came in after the sheet that we saw.
I forget the number, but there were probably there was a huge surge in the last week.
That's
There
right.
was a huge surge in the last week. Any other questions?
I was just going to say, unless, unless I see anybody opposed to it, what I wanted to do was just defer Maunakea Management Board's any recommendation to the Board of Regents based on the to be revised draft master plan be put off until we can see the pre-final document in December. And if anything, we would not, vote on or agree to any submission to the Board of Regents until January. Is anybody opposed to this deferral?
No, but I do suggest that it be placed into a form of a motion and voted upon to defer any action till the next, till after the comment, the next draft, and determine the next course of action by the board in January.
Would you like to make
accordingly?
Okay, thank you. So Billy moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Julie seconds. Is there further discussion on the deferral of any comments, recommendations on the draft master plan till the pre-final is received, hopefully in December, for possible discussion and vote in January? Anybody have any other comments or discussion? If not, I'm going to ask all those in favor of the motion to defer, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we will defer. Thank you. So the next item is membership of the Maunakea Management Board. Great.
So as we know, we've had discussions about membership, and those interact or overlap with our discussions about community engagement. So at this time, Chair, I would like to make a motion that we move into executive session to discuss with our attorney the roles and responsibilities and of membership, the Maunakea Management Board, as we move forward.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Julie. All those in favor of moving to executive session, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we will now move into executive session and we will return as soon as we're done.
Yeah.
So there's a different link to go to for executive session.
Right. And Chair, I am asking that Nahua be able to join us for executive session as well.
Okay, anybody have a opposition? Okay,
No
that'll be
objection.
fine. No objections. Okay, so see everybody in hopefully a minute.
Yeah.
Where is this link to the
Yeah,
agenda?
where's this link? Sorry.
Okay, so if you go to the email,
Original email.
yeah, on October 27th, there was, the first link was to this meeting, and then there's a second link, which is in red. And that's the executive session link.
Okay.
I don't have the link on my email.
Let me forward this to you.
Thanks, that'll take care of it.
Can you send that to me too? I don't have that either.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, what happened here? Wait a minute. Wait,
Thank you.
did you get it?
I got it.
Nahua, you haven't gotten it, right?
I got it.
Oh, you did get it? Okay.
Okay.
See you in a
Thank
few.
you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay. I'm just waiting for Diana. Okay, great, Diana. Okay, we're all back. So I will reconvene the public meeting, and let's see, there's really nothing to report after executive session. We're just still continue to discuss MCAMB membership and the community engagement. So the next item on our agenda is announcements. So our next public meeting will be held on Tuesday, December 7th. And on the same Zoom setup and YouTube. Any more announcements by anyone?
I would like to just reiterate on behalf of the university our appreciation for this group's efforts and time and energy that you put into supporting our efforts. I realize these are long meetings and sometimes taxing discussions, but really appreciate the support you folks and the input you folks have provide. You know, we are making a concerted effort to improve ourselves on all fronts, and this is an important part of working with you folks is an important component or element of the improvements we're trying to make. So I just wanted to express that appreciation.
Thank you. Anybody have any last comments? If not, oh, okay. If not, it is 6:52 and I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you everyone for your time. And again, welcome, Nahua. We will see all of you. We'll have let's see. Yeah, have a great week and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Good night.
Bye.